Good morning, guys. Welcome to Liverpool FC Journal. I'm W. James. This is your Liverpool news update for the 29th of December as we head towards the end of 2025. The end of what's been a good year for the club. I mean, obviously, the league championship win was fantastic, number 20. It's all gone a bit downhill since then, though. Obviously, £500 million spent in the summer and the team looking, well, like a pale shadow of its former self. And despite the fact that Slottites will tell you that everything is rosy in the garden at Anfield and everything is great and everything is amazing and Liverpool will still win the league this season, one day they will wake from their delusion, I am sure. Look, we'll talk a little bit about Antoine Semenyo and dispel some of the myths and rumours around that one. We'll talk about Mark Gahey as well and what Palace are saying. We're also going to talk a little bit about the recent run of form as well and how that actually is not reflective of a team that is playing well. And look, I listened to a number of creators this morning, Lancashire on TikTok. I even listened to, I know he's a Man United fan, but Mark Goldbridge, who spoke a lot of sense about Liverpool, over the weekend on That's Football. And I think, we've got to kind of take into account what people are saying about this club. And, there's this kind of, I don't know, we don't sack our managers, we do this, we do that. But if the manager is not doing his job well, is not managing the team effectively, and the team is not returning performances that are actual performances that you can be proud of, performances that will actually in the long run have a positive benefit on this club, then you've got to look at it and review the situation. And I've received a lot of criticism, and I know others have too, for this comment that's been made, but there is a review, I know, from listening to people within the know, taking place at Anfield. Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, John W. Henry are not happy with how this season is going. They're not happy with the situation at the club. They're not happy with the fact that they've sort of spent as much money as they have and the product on the pitch is not good. And the likelihood is that Liverpool will finish the season trophyless after talking about winning or on all four fronts at the start of the season. Go back and do your research if you don't believe me. There were quotes from Slot, from Hughes, regarding the building a squad to compete on all four fronts. Those quotes are out there. And this certainly is not a team that is competing on all four fronts, especially after the fact that we threw the League Cup away. And I believe Slot will do the same in the FA Cup as well. Look, let's start with a few sort of bits and pieces first of all. Antoine Semenyo. Obviously, now there's been a lot of reports over the weekend that Liverpool will kind of, go back in and try and hijack the bid for Semenyo for Manchester City. Even other reports suggesting that if Liverpool were to do that Semenyo would prefer Liverpool. However, a number of people, a number of journos now have come out and said, like Lewis Steele, for instance, Ben Jacobs, Fabrizio Romano as well, have all come out and said that there is no truth in that whatsoever, and Liverpool are not intending to make any move for Antoine Semenyo. There will be no hijack, there will be no bid, and despite what you may read on some social media platforms and on some so-called in-the-know pages on Instagram or on TikTok, Semenyo is not going to become a Liverpool player. It is far more likely that he will become a Manchester City player in January. The club have no plans to sign Semenyo. Look, personally, I think it's a mistake. I think signing Semenyo would be a good long-term fix. I think he's a player who could have made a huge difference. I think he can play right side, he can play left side. He's impactful, he's quick, he's strong. He's a better player than Cody Gakpo. And I do, I do feel that there is a kind of feeling that Semenyo won't come because of the fact that he's not guaranteed that first team football. He's not guaranteed those slots because of Gakpo, because of Salah, for instance. Now, I also feel as well this season that Gakpo hasn't perhaps quite reached the heights of last season because there is nobody pushing him. You look at last season, then he had Luis Diaz pushing him all the time, and Diaz and Gakpo in a constant battle against each other to become that left-sided player. And I think that helps. Iron sharpens iron, as they say. Two dogs, one bone. Two dogs fighting over a bone. The healthy dog wins that bone, doesn't he? So there's not that element this year, and Cody hasn't really got any opposition for his spot. Chiesa isn't opposition for his spot. Rio and Gamoa isn't. So, and as much as Liverpool might trot out the same old tired bullshit about the fact that that Rio has a path to the first team, which is we all know is not true. That the manager doesn't trust Rio and Gamoa, as we saw on Saturday. I do think this is not the right move for the club, that they should be looking at players like Semenyo in January. So that's one that has been dispelled. Now, the other story that's been coming out is regarding Mark Gahey. Now, I think there's a lot of Liverpool fans that see the signing of a centre-back in January as absolute key for the rest of the season. And I fundamentally agree with this one. It is absolutely key for me as well to bring in a centre-back in January. I think if the club don't bring in a centre-back in January, then it's effectively, number one, throwing away the season, and number two, kind of backing up all the stories that are coming out about the fact that Arne Slot is not being backed in January because he will be gone at the end of the season. Look, at the moment we have Virgil van Dijk, who's 34 years old and has not been at the standard that he has been in previous years, has had a bit of a fall off this season. Ibrahima Konate, who knows where Ibrahima Konate's head is? Is it in Madrid? Is it in Liverpool? God only knows. Leone's out for the season. Joe Gomez has a hamstring. God knows how long he's out for. God knows even if he can come back. Who knows with Joe Gomez? So effectively, we're going through the rest of the season, despite what Arne Slot might tell you, with two centre-backs. You can talk about Robbo, you can talk about Endo, you can talk about Gravenberch. None are out-and-out centre-backs. But so the story that's coming out is that Palace expect Liverpool to be the only club to bid for Gahey in January. That is what Crystal Palace are saying. Now, whether or not Gahey moves, I think, is open for debate. A lot of sources saying today that Gahey doesn't want to move mid-season and will wait till the summer to move, which, of course, then brings into a situation where Liverpool could face even stiffer competition, because as of the 1st of January, as with Ibrahima Konate, clubs across the continent can speak with Gahey. Now, it's reported that Bayern Munich, Barcelona and Madrid are all in for Gahey, despite what you may have read in the media. All three clubs are interested in trying to attract the player to the continent. So, look, it gets tougher in the summer if Gahey is going to become a Liverpool player. Now, people have talked about a gentleman's agreement between Gahey and Liverpool after the transfer deal collapsed in the summer. But as we know, gentlemen's agreements are worth absolutely bugger all these days. Players move for money. They've got short careers. They need that cash, don't they? So, look, at the end of the day, this is one that is very much up in the air. But as far as I'm concerned, we have to move for a centre-back. There has to be a move for a centre-back in January, because if there isn't, then you have to ask questions about the ambition for the rest of the season. The realistic chances of winning a Champions League, the realistic chances of competing in the FA Cup, the realistic chances of getting top four next season, because of the fact we are exceptionally short in that centre-back position. And our defending, particularly from set pieces, is absolutely awful. Absolutely awful. As I mentioned on the video yesterday, we have a -9 goal differential on set pieces, the worst in the Premier League on defending set pieces. Right, look, let's have a little look, shall we? Look, now, if we look at recent results for Liverpool, and people can talk all they want about the fact it's 7 undefeated, and I'm absolutely, look, don't get me wrong, I'm really happy that we are 7 undefeated. I'm not going to say I'm not. Of course, I want us to win. Of course, I want us to be successful and win games. But let's get things in perspective. As a real fan, and I'm not talking about, and there are certain fans within our fan base who I would describe as complete happy clappers that are now saying, oh, we've won 7, we were 7 undefeated, everything's great, no problems, no issues, there's no worries about this team's amazing, yada, yada, yada. Happy fucking clappers, the lot of them. Give your heads a wobble. Just genuinely give your heads a fucking wobble. You look at recent games and the performances have been far from convincing, have been poor. And you've got to remember, this is the easy run of fixtures, guys. This is not a tough run of fixtures. This is not difficult teams we're playing. These are games that we should be winning, and winning far more easily than we are winning them. With the players that Liverpool have, even with the injuries that Liverpool have. I mean, to be hanging on at home to the worst team in Premier League history at this point in the season, hanging on, that's what we were in that second half. That second half, if you'd said to someone who came from Mars, or some foreign or some alien planet, one team here is bottom of the league, one team is going for Champions League, you would have been struggling to name which one was which. Yes, Liverpool beat West Ham at West Ham. Everybody beats West Ham. West Ham are shocking this season. The draw against Sunderland, we were exceptionally lucky to get that draw. If Chiesa doesn't bust his ass to get back and block that Isidore shot, they win that game 2-1. That is a fact. Absolute fact. The Leeds game, 3-3. again, the way we threw that game away and allowed a newly promoted team who are not doing well this season back into the game was genuinely dreadful, genuinely poor. The 1-0 went into Inter, yes, good result. Brighton 2-0, again, the result kind of masks the game. You go back to that game, how many easy chances did Brighton miss? How many saves did the keeper pull off? You know, again, they have their shooting boots on that day. That game could end easily as a draw. The game against Tottenham last week, we played 9 men and we were clinging on for dear life against 9 players. Clinging on. And then obviously Saturday, 2-1 win over Wolves. Wolves are shit. Wolves are poor. Worst team in Premier League history. 2 points. And we were clinging on second half. It was far from convincing. And there's a number of people saying this. It's not just me. You know, lots of people are saying that this is not great. Like I said, Lancashire lad, Mark Goldbridge, Craig Houghton on Anfield Agenda have got a massive amount of respect for, all saying the same thing. This Liverpool team is not a good team. This manager is not a good manager. You know, you go back and you look at the next 3 fixtures. Yes, we should be winning that game on the 1st of January at home against newly promoted Leeds. Fulham away. Last season we went and we lost at Fulham away. And then the Arsenal game on the 8th of January looms large. Now, if we play as we played on Saturday against Arsenal on the 8th, Arsenal will smash us. They'll beat us easily on that day. Easily beat us. And then have to listen to gloating Gooners fans. And do you really want to be doing that? Do you really want to be listening? You know, I genuinely don't get it. I don't get it. And the football we're playing is dull. And I think, you know, like I said, there's a lot of happy clappers out there that don't seem to understand what football is and how and what is expected of this football team. £500 million spent and it's gone backwards rapidly. There needs to be massive improvement in this team and more convincing games and more convincing performances. There needs to be a step up in level. Slot ball is boring, it's turgid, it's predictable, it's easy to play against. And either he has to change and adapt or he has to go. And that is simple, no matter where we are. You know, realistically, as I said yesterday, I think the top 3 will be the top 3 at the end of the season. And I think the battle for 4th is between us, Manchester United and Chelsea. I think that is the battle for 4th. And it will be a very, very tight one right down to the wire, which it shouldn't be, given the amount of money that's been spent in the summer. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. Please obviously drop me a comment. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.